Have you ever wondered if you could take a pretty small amount of money and, turn it into something more through Forex trading? It's a question that gets thousands of people interested, especially students. So today, we're going to lay out a really clear roadmap to help you navigate this complex world as we start looking ahead to 2026.
But let's start with the biggest question on everyone's mind, the one that probably brought you here. Can you actually trade Forex with just $100, maybe $200? I mean, this is the whole idea that pulls so many people in, right? That promise of being able to get started without a ton of cash.
But here's the thing. With that promise comes some pretty serious stuff. High leverage, huge risks, and honestly, a whole lot of confusion. So our goal today is super simple. We're going to cut right through all that noise and give you a straightforward, easy to understand roadmap for what Forex is really all about.
All right, first up, let's just tackle that $100 question head on. Why does Forex seem so accessible if you only have a little bit of money to start with? Well, it really all boils down to two words: leverage and risk.
Okay, moving on to section 2. Before we get any deeper, let's just ask the most basic question. What even is Forex, anyway? Let's break down the absolute fundamentals. So think of it this way. In the stock market, you're buying a tiny piece of a company, right? Like Apple or Tesla. But in Forex, you're not doing that at all. You are trading currencies directly against each other. You're basically making a bet on the value of one currency, say the US dollar, versus another, like the euro. And what makes those currency values bounce around all day? Well, it all comes back to the oldest, most basic rule in economics: supply and demand. Just think about it for a second. Money is zipping around the globe constantly, for business, for travel, for huge investments. It's this non-stop flow that makes the prices move. Here's a perfect real-world example. Imagine things get a little shaky around the world, and big investors get nervous. They start selling off their stocks. Now, where do they park all that money? A lot of the time, they move it into something they see as a safe haven, like the US dollar. All of a sudden, there's this huge surge in demand for dollars, and that pushes its value up. See? That's Forex in action right there. So, if it's not just random chaos, how do you actually try to anticipate these moves? This is exactly where trading stops being a guessing game and starts becoming a real skill. It's all about learning to read the market's own language. And that skill has a name. It's called technical analysis. It's really the art and science of looking at price charts and old data to try and predict where the price might be headed next. And you know what the best part is? It's a universal skill. Once you learn it, you can apply it to stocks, crypto, you name it. So what's in this trader's toolkit? Well, you've got to learn how to read charts, of course. You need to understand these little price bars called candlesticks and what their patterns mean. And you have to be able to spot these key price levels where the market tends to react. This is how you actually plan your trades, knowing exactly when to get in, and just as crucial, when it's time to get out. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Without these skills, it literally doesn't matter if you're starting with $50 or $5,000. You're not really trading, you're just gambling. This knowledge is what separates a calculated risk from just a blind bet. Now, one of the most unique and coolest things about the Forex market is its schedule. Unlike a stock exchange that opens and closes with a bell, Forex is a global market. It basically never sleeps during the work week. The market basically works like a relay race around the globe, passing the baton between 3 major trading sessions. It kicks off with the Asian session, centered in Tokyo. Then, as their day winds down, the London session opens up, which is a massive hub for trading. And finally, the New York session gets going. And this right here is where it gets really interesting. While you'll see action in every session, just look at that period when the London and New York sessions overlap. That's when 2 of the biggest financial centers in the world are open for business at the same time. The trading volume, the amount of money moving around, it's at its absolute peak. For many traders, this is prime time, when the best opportunities pop up. So we've covered the mechanics, which is great. But now we absolutely have to talk about the risks. Because especially when you're just starting out, it is so critical to understand the downsides and how you can approach this whole thing smartly. Look, when you're trading with some of these foreign brokers, which a lot of beginners do, the risks are very, very real. The safety of your money isn't always guaranteed. The reliability of the broker themselves can be a big question mark. And yeah, any platform can technically just pause its services or shut down without warning. So what's a smart alternative if you feel like you have the skill, but you just don't have the cash? Well, you should definitely look into something called funded accounts. This is where a company provides you with a ton of capital to trade with. We're talking $10,000, $100,000, sometimes more. You trade following their rules, and then you share the profits. It's a way to trade big without risking your own personal money.
All right, let's pull all of this together now. As we look forward to 2026, it's not just about learning a couple of chart patterns. It's really about developing the right mindset to succeed in the long run.
True success in trading isn't built on one lucky trade. No way. It's built on these 4 pillars. First, discipline, day in, day out. Second, proper risk management on every single trade you take. Third, focusing on learning, not just chasing fast profits. And finally, understanding that what you're really doing is building a long-term skill that can serve you for life.
So the key takeaway here is that now is the perfect time to get started. Use the next few months to really educate yourself, practice on a demo account so you can build some consistency and make a smart, safe plan for how you're going to approach the markets. And that leaves us with one final thought to really let sink in. As you move forward from here, I want you to ask yourself this question with every single decision you make. Are you here to build a valuable, long-term skill, or are you just here to place a bet? Because honestly, your answer to that question is going to define your entire journey. Thanks for tuning in.